Hey everyone, my name is Najeary Bennett. I am the Chief Program Officer here at Department of Sound. But for today, I am your host for our very first Sound Mind Initiative Youth Native Podcast. In today's episode, we will highlight our partnership with Department of Sound and the federally recognized tribe, Wilton Rancheria. I have with me today Vice Chairwoman Racquel Williams from Wilton Rancheria and Joshua Martinez, Education Manager. For those who are not familiar with the Department of Sound, we are a youth-focused education nonprofit teaching music engineering and podcast production here in Sacramento and the neighboring counties. Over the past 5 years, we've delivered virtual lessons during the pandemic, we've done workshops at local community centers, and of course, we've had our curriculum taught in after-school programs within Sac City Unified School District, Twin Rivers, Washington Unified, and Esparta Unified School District. Now, coming out of the pandemic, we launched our Sound Mind Initiative in response to research data highlighting the rise in depression and anxiety among young people. We realized the need to not only teach the basic skills on how to make a beat or podcast, but how to truly enrich the lives of younger generation. Since then, we've developed mindfulness modules and also resources supporting our existing curriculum, which includes journaling, breathing, and other wellness exercises supporting mental health. I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you both, and also just to have fun and make music if we may, right? So I want to start with you, Vice Chairwoman. First of all, what is on your playlist right now? What are you listening to? Whether it's an artist or a genre, what do you want to share with listeners?
Okay. Kuchi'ihama. Like I said, my name is Racquel Williams. I'm excited to be here. And this is one of a kind, right? This is my first ever being here. So I'm a little starstruck and a little excited. But also, too, being able to be in a place where music starts or being able to be in a place of where music is expressed is exciting to me. So when you talk about music or what's on my list right now is like Lauryn Hill. It's like a lot of old R&B. Just because of the fact of like, in now contemporary days, like you're almost missing that love component. And so it's like, okay, well, let me go back. Yeah. Let me go back and like, let me listen to something that puts me in a good mood, but also to uplifts rather than, talking about being a bad, like all that stuff. But like, let me listen to something that can ground me and really, let me listen to something that promotes love, and then I can permeate that through not only my personal life, but community and those types of things. And it just makes you feel good.
Yeah. I support. I love that. I find myself being a true millennial recently because I'm like, they don't make music like this anymore. Speaking of Lauryn Hill, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill is just like still today one of the albums that I listen to just for nostalgic, just a trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
And so I'm right there with you. What about you, Joshua?
That's a good question. Honestly, I listen to a different kind of category of music. Usually when I want to relax, calm down, I listen to the lo-fi beats kind of style because it's more relaxing and how it is. And it's proven that listening to slower music slows down your heart rate, relaxes you. So it's easy for me to write. At work, usually that's what I have in the background. Listening to some medieval style lo-fi. It's the weirdest thing ever, but it worked when someone comes in with a mandolin. And then I also, like, if I'm on a road trip or something like that, I always go back to my initial favorite band. That's the Gorillaz. Okay. Listening to Clint Eastwood. Plastic Beach was, like, my favorite, like, whole soundtrack that they did. And it's good because after, like, listening to music, hearing it and everything like that, it does have a great mental ability to help you relax and make you feel calm. So
I'm right there with you. I literally sleep to the sound of the rain. So, yeah. Or the river, just like nature sounds, just to help me.
Yeah, nature's music.
Yeah, nature is music.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the question, Vice Chair, what is the role or the relationship of music to the community?
Okay, so music has always been around since the beginning of time. We have... At the tribe, we have a lot of customs and we have a lot of traditions, but we're a people of the earth. And so we believe that everything that comes from the earth was given to us for us to live, right? And so we have everything that we need, the earth provides for us. So with that, even the plants that we use not only have medicines or medicinal capabilities or properties, they also have the ability to make music. So when you think about music, I think about our elderberry tree or bush. I'm not really too... I don't really know if it's a bush or a tree. I don't know.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. Yeah.
And it is a hybrid, right? It has many different properties, but also too, the tree itself makes tea, it makes medicine. It can be dyed, like it can make dye, but also too, that stick in itself, music lives within it. And so that, it's called a clapper stick. That tree produces that for us, and it's something that we use in all of our gatherings almost. So it's very prominent in everything that we do. So when you think about music, I think about a tree.
Yeah, I love that. I do love that. It's funny. I grew up in Jamaica, and on my way to the studio this morning, I was trying to think of certain conversation points for myself, and I just went back to my childhood. I grew up on a farm, and for me, as soon as there was a conflict, let's go and put it that way. Probably I just didn't finish my schoolwork, but my mom is yelling. I remember growing up, I would always just run away to the farm and just be communing with the trees or listening to the birds. And that still is a part of who I am to this day. So when I think about music, I love what you shared. It's literally a part of your life. As a singer-songwriter now, I look at just how I get to tell my stories, but it's all going back to how I was brought up as a kid, my connection to the earth, knowing that there was always music, there's always sound around me. So I really do love that you share that for someone who's probably listening and figuring and thinking, well, I'm not musically inclined, but it's there. It's there, as you said, like the way that you react to the trees, listen to the wind through the leaves. Music is always there, and it's just important for us to be able to center ourselves and connect to that as best as we can, or however we can. For you, Joshua, I want to ask you, because when we met earlier, I believe in April, we got the opportunity to talk with the council, the tribal council, and we had to do a presentation and share who is Department of Sound, what are we doing? And that was a really eye-opening moment for us as we're trying to be more mindful of expanding our program, by the way, to more Native communities. Now, I want to know from you, what was it that stood out for Department of Sound? Why is it that you thought it was important to bring Department of Sound to the community?
So when it was initially brought up to me by Sari, who's currently watching or recording or doing something with the kids right now, hopefully we'll have a conversation with her about that. She brought it up to me and showed me like this is a good possibility to help the youth. And I was like, okay, let me do my research. And that involved me looking at the Yochadihi and contacting some of the tribal members over there who were initially into this, just to figure out like the information and how everything is. And then after a while doing the research and seeing how you guys are really focused on the youth, spreading your information on mental health and everything in that kind of category, kind of was like, okay, this is something I could get behind of, because like youth in tribal lands or any kind of tribal area, mental health is a big concern. Us as tribal members, including my tribe down in San Ynez, we have a lot about mental health, suicide, and like drug use and stuff, and there's no outlet for them. Mm-hmm. Some tribes who do get certain funding or anything like that, it's hard for them to figure out that where to go. Mm-hmm. And seeing this as a way to get all those youth together, to come together, to talk to each other, express music, and find this inner peace in the kind of way that I saw, and having that conversation of like, oh, I could do this instead of doing this, was beautiful. And when we were doing our coursework for the past day or week and month that we were doing it, I heard extraordinary, wonderful music from these youth, and it was a beautiful thing to see. And because of like all that information I was able to provide from the Yochadihi and all that, it was easy for me to get you guys to come in, easy for you guys to talk, because I feel like you guys had that resource and understanding of what needed to be helped and what needed to be fixed. So there wasn't really a hard decision, honestly.
Yeah. I want to segue a little because I think there's a personal connection though to podcast and making music on a whole. I think I learned earlier that you also do a little. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. Podcast on the side, and it's beautiful because in this whole experience, I will say the entire team altogether have been so integral in the program itself. I remember that first class that we all got there, and there were some technical difficulties. We teach a program, it's web-based, so there's just a lot that can go wrong. But witnessing as the program operator and Department of Sound side, watching the community behind that class, that first initial class, it was something that kind of blew my mind away. And then the second part of that was you all knew what to do. We were just there to facilitate by teaching the curriculum. And it goes back to what you shared before, Vice Chair. It's a part of the community already. It's already integrated into their day-to-day lives. And I was blown away more than anything else by the young participants, just how much, as soon as we were able to set up the computer and gave them their headphones, they knew what to do. They had so much to share. I think kids are just naturally tech savvy these days as well. So they were just ready to share. And I want to bring it back to say, your involvement in all of that was important. And I just want to know a little more now about your personal projects.
Oh, my personal projects.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a few. Currently, I'm writing a book. It's a fantasy kind of style, but it's based on a campaign that I've written 4 years ago and I DM'd.
So I'm starstruck.
Right.
So at this moment, because I am a dungeon master, I started to do recording using Zoom because that's all that I had, because it's easier to get people to record. But then I was learning how to splice everything by watching YouTube and then watching how to, and then slowly building my studio base of what I got in my house and everything like that. But I currently do 4 campaigns, and I play with people from all over the world, and we have this conversation. I record it, and then I stitch everything together. I do create my own music for that, even though I'm not musically talented. But thank God for my brother, who actually is. My brother is a very well in tune music person. He's a prodigy, basically. He has done some recordings from I believe All American Rejects and stuff like that. And it's just uniquely to have his input in that. So I do maybe 4 podcasts, depending. I do also interviews, depending on what it is, upcoming things. So splicing everything together, and then also watching how you guys were teaching your classes. I was like, oh, I can actually do this in mine. It makes it a lot easier. And it's just the editing and everything. So it's always good to know.
I love that. I think that's one thing we try to remind kids in our programs as well. You don't have to have a dream of being the next superstar, but there's so many ways that you can learn things throughout the process. And then whether you're making your reels for Instagram or your TikTok or what, there's so many creative freedom here to explore. And I really do love that. Vice Chair, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So in the setting that we're in, a lot of times we're only taught, your outlet is sports, right? You have to be able to play football, you play baseball, you play basketball, and that's pretty much occasional volleyball, right? On our reservations and in our communities, those sports are prominent. And for us, it felt like that's all there is. And so when Josh and Sada'i brought this to the table, that was one of my comments is, well, why not? Because of the fact that we're giving them an alternate, and we're giving them something else besides a ball. Right? Something else besides just the typical norm for minority communities, right? People see, or they're in spaces of color, they automatically think you have to play sports, and that's all that they have for them. So for us to really be able to give our kids something else was important. And for us to give something that helps their mental stability, that helps them grow, that helps them have an outlet, but also to kind of break that cycle of, okay, well, you have to be tough. You have to go out there and, you have to go out there and achieve these trophies that in at the end of the day, they don't mean anything. Right? It's just a showcase of time that you were there. Right? So this will last with them forever. However long this partnership lasts, it will last forever in our community. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. And that was beautiful to hear. I think that's just it. It's just empowering them to also share they have so much to share. And like, especially with the podcast part of our program. Again, I've been with the Department of Sound for the past year in this capacity, and each class I go into, I realize that kids have a lot to say, and also creating our programs as well. We've now been more mindful as well to make sure the programs that we're creating is centered around their voices more than ours, because sometimes we think we know everything, right? So I'm really grateful for those feedback. I want to bring it to music again, and I'm curious, what is a song that you would recommend for the youth within the tribal community or anyone that's listening that means something to you and you'd really want to share that?
Okay, so I'm not going to say what's in my truck right now or what's on my list right now. Okay. Just kidding. Yeah. If I had to think about a song or a type of music, I'm going to get a little deep here. Would have to be our traditional music. It would have to be our traditional songs. Not only because obviously that's who we are and where we come from and those kind of things, but also too reminding people that my people and other tribal nations, youth, reminding them that it's always there for you, no matter what. In the time of need, in the time of disparity, in the time of heartache, in the time of joy, in the time of love, in the time of happiness, our customs and traditions will always be there. And whether you have them embedded in you or in your families, or whether you have to go elsewhere and ask for help or seek help from other folks of other tribes or other nations, go ahead and do that, right? Because those are what will sustain you no matter what. And your people and your culture and the love that the people have for you will always be there. So for them to be able to turn around, and whether it's a song or two or six or whatever it is, for them to really get to know and understand that, but also too, it has traditional language, and that language is embedded in us, and it comes from the earth, and traditional songs come from the earth, and so reminding them that we as a people come from the earth. So it'd have to be our traditional music.
Thank you. I love that. You know I'm coming over to you.
No, yeah, 100%. I know
you have it ready.
Let's hear it, Josh.
Okay. Well, Vice Chair said it a lot easier than I have. I'm going to just piggy off of hers. No, actually, I do agree with Vice Chair on that. Honestly, because working with the Native community, like that's the thing we have to worry about, is that our language is dying in certain ways. Like through the whole colonization method, how that's currently happening, our language was slowly diminishing and stuff like this. And the only way for our language to be alive in our songs was through songs, and then also, were hidden and then brought back slowly. So I honestly grew up right next to the reservation in San Ynez area, where my great aunt was there, living on there, and she always sang with us or taught us songs in the way. In our tribal language, and it was just simple things of like how to gather, what to eat, even like fun kid joking ones and stuff like that, which again, it's something that you have to gradually learn in its way, but it's a lesson when they provide us. And with Wilton, I mean, they're doing a lot of great work with their language. They have a language course classes. They're doing culture classes. They're keeping that language alive in the way that like a lot of tribes are trying to do as well. And it's a wonderful thing to see. And music wise, honestly, yes, it's like tribal music is a thing I would recommend any youth go to their grandparents, go to their tribal member or someone who knows that songs or knows those things, and start teaching or start listening, because that's something that could gradually become greater in a way, still be alive. But that, for me, listening it, I actually do have like a little soundtrack that was designed from my tribe itself, which I do listen to every once in a while. But it has like all the songs from traditional, like what is like the welcoming of friends, to the acorns, to salmon, to fish, dolphins, because that's where my people originate from and everything like that. So I would have to say, yeah, like listen to the tribal music. That's the way. Or, you could just go old school and listen to Broadway stuff. But, I prefer that.
Okay, so if I had to say something like contemporary music, would probably be like like Lauryn Hill, like Erykah Badu, like those are like my like go-tos. India Ari, where she's like, sometimes I comb my hair, sometimes I won't. Like I didn't comb my hair today because India Ari said I didn't have to. What's contemporary music, Josh? What would you leave them with?
Oh man, for me, honestly, my music
Megan Thee Stallion.
No, thank you. No, honestly, my music is kind of weird.
We're hot girls over here too.
I'm just saying. I am a Broadway child.
Okay. Oh,
so anything Broadway is like my stuff. So like Fiddler on the Roof.
I had no idea.
Love it. I love Fiddler on the Roof. It's like one of my favorite all-time movies. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Great soundtrack for that whole thing. I could sing the whole thing by heart.
go ahead.
Yeah, we'll wait.
We're in the studio.
We will wait.
We'll wait.
Go ahead.
Like that. Like my like Jersey Boys and stuff like that. Like anything Broadway is something that like I love because music is something like that is natural for it, including like old Disney. I mean like Alice in Wonderland and like Pinocchio. Like there's some certain musical aspects of it that like is beautiful. Yeah. And you know, I recommend Broadway. Kids,
I had no idea. Jersey Boys is in town though,
yep,
right?
I got my tickets for that.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear what the kids have to say about this.
I'm going to be getting picked on, so it's cool.
Out of love. But I just wanted to tell you both thank you again for being here. I know we're going to have a few of our participants in here as well, just to share as well with us. But I really want to say thank you for believing in Department of Sound and the program, but also for the work that you guys are also doing. I believe Dr. T is her name. I want to give a big shout out to Dr. T as well. And the entire community for also, again, this partnership. So thank you. But is there anything else we want to share before we go?
What about you? You didn't bring it up.
See, this is an interviewer here.
Let's go.
Yes.
What is it?
You know, I was thinking about first it was I love what you were sharing about language. That stood out for me. It would be everything Bob Marley, as I get emotional whenever I think about that too, because it's just embedded in my upbringing. But Redemption Song, I think for me, adjusting living here for 10 years as well, it's a huge thing for me. And there are days when my brain, even how I speak, as we've all seen in preparing for this little segment, my upbringing is just something that is uniquely powerful and it's nuanced. It has so much there. But the more I grow as a person, I realize I keep going back to music to soothe myself. And that specific song, Redemption Song, really helps me through a lot. It's like a reset button for me. So I do, so I love that as like the song that brings me back to my true essence, to my community, to my culture, to the earth. And then on a surface level, I'm definitely a hot girl, so I will be with the Megan Thee Stallion. But also, like, I really love right now Victoria Monet, which is actually from Sacramento, and I believe just won, I think, 6 or 7 Grammys last year.
Yeah.
Truly talented, amazing writer. So yeah, I'm a big R&B person as well. So I'm loving all the R&B artists that are like really making waves right now. Kehlani as well. Yeah, there's a lot that I can go into, but yeah.
All right.
Music is healing. And
It is.
That's the thing. We just want to make sure we continue to invest in our young people to have the experiences that, that need to express themselves, but also how to use music in a way to help them.
And so if I had to think about it from also like a tribal perspective, we have a lot of our people in the communities now that are creating music of all different sorts, right? So we have obviously like our indigenous hip hop artists. We have a lot of indigenous like R&B. And then now we have even people who are integrating both traditional sounds in music and with contemporary words, which is awesome. So, like we're thinking about, there's obviously Natani Means and Antone Edwards and Savage Family, and like all those indigenous artists that are out there, but they're doing it on their own. They're doing it from their backyards. They're doing it from their front yards, and a lot of times we see a lot of them in our spaces that we all share, and it's pretty cool because I'm like, what are they doing? Oh, they're doing a video. I'm like, oh, they're doing a video, and it's like, like it's pretty cool for
It's affirming as well for also younger Native kids also to see that.
And we're not on the forefront, right?
Yes.
Like we're not on the Indian people. We're not on the forefront of hip hop. We're not on the forefront of country. We're not on the forefront of R&B, right? Like we're just kind of we're siloed.
Yeah.
And so when I do see our artists coming up and like or putting in traditional dancing in their videos or whatever, there's obviously some people like, oh, that's not okay or whatever. But at the same time, representation matters.
Yes.
And if it gets to a youth and they see that, they'll question it, right? And which is good. And then maybe they'll seek that out for themselves if they don't already had it, if they don't already have it. And then Josh said something earlier about language being, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but like language being dead or dying off. It's simply dormant, right? It's just asleep. So who's going to wake it up, right? And so we have to, our mindset is everything, and how we word things are important, right? Like in everything that we have inside of is just dormant, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like who's going to wake it up or how that's going to start the fire. So things like this, I believe it's a new wave, right? And we're in a new day. This isn't the typical norm for us as tribal people to be recording or to be videoing or, like those we were people of, well, if you were meant to hear it, then you should have been there.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're in this new wave of podcasts and recording and all that, which is good. So I think about those hip hop artists that we have right now in our homes. I think about those R&B, folks that are, starting off their music and creating a path for others. And we don't know where that's going to take us. So I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for that too. And I just thought about the Yochidihi Winton Nation, their community fund. I think this is our year 3 that we've received a grant from the community fund.
I had no idea.
I wanted to bring that in because it was a part of a conversation, my first conversation with the tribe actually. Someone mentioned that Native artists are not just archaic and just always in this performative or to be seen through this performative lens, but there's so much more. And Department of Sound, that's one of our mission as well, to be able to create those spaces. So whether having them into the studio space to record a podcast or music, etc. We have a project coming up in the next few months where we're going to be highlighting Native artists. And that's exciting to hear. I'm probably going to be reaching out to both of you to figure out.
We know a few, handful.
And just like that, we have a project that's going to be brewing. So I'm happy to hear that. But that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing as an organization, but having the support and the understanding from you both as individual, but the work that you're doing within the community is integral. So thank you again.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah.
Honestly, appreciate
this
it.
is
and everything.
good for me as well. You know, I'm usually behind my keys trying to figure out stuff, but it was really nice to be able to have this conversation. And it really brings the partnership to this space where it's more real, bring the humanness to it beyond the business. And I really love that when we get to have these discussions outside of a boardroom as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful. I say this on behalf of the entire Department of Sound team. We're also grateful for this space that we're in, Shadowed Records. This is a commercial studio space. However, we do have a partnership as a nonprofit. And what we're doing here today is what we hope to keep doing with other partners. Just to have youth getting the experience beyond the classroom after learning our lessons, just to be in an immersive space like this, to fully see the key, see the light, see the whole production. It's so inspiring.
This place is beautiful. When you guys opened it up as the grand opening and stuff, I come in and I was like, ooh, okay, yes. And then you guys showed us this beautiful recording room that you have. I was like, this is a great area to host a D&D campaign and record it in front of a bunch of people.
And here we are now. It takes a village.
Who wants to do that?
It takes a village. We have behind the glass, we have the owners over here. We have Jack, we have Michael, we have Zach. It's a village. And we need to do this so that we can, as you mentioned before, Vice Chair, to showcase the talent, to say the things that matter so that those who feel invisible in society can also see themselves. And I think one of the greatest way to do that is through art. And so what we're doing here is just something that we hope to keep doing and moving forward.
And honestly, this place here is something great because it's showing the Native youth there is something that you can do.
Yeah.
Even if it's just recording or standing behind the studio just pushing the buttons
and learning about
recording the videos and turning here or something like that. It's just amazing because there's that opportunity now that they know that it's not one thing that they could they have to go for. They could go through something like this and create something like this, and they don't have to have $1 billion or whatever to do it, but they have the resources or the knowledge of people who are going to provide those for them.
Well, the people on their team that are willing to literally carve out space for them to show up and them to showcase themselves or their communities.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for everybody here. I'm grateful for the partnership, and I'm grateful for Sadie and Josh bringing that forward because otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for everybody, and we're a people of gratitude. And so this is beautiful things are coming, and I want to thank you guys for being along that journey.
Yeah. And people have good food too. That's the last thing that I'll insert into this. Every single class that I was able to attend, you guys took care of us. It was just an abundance of food. And I was like, okay, I think I messaged her once and I was like, do you mind sharing with me what's the backstory here? I know culturally for me as well, there's always just a lot of cooking and celebration. And I saw that. So it was always just this feel of community. And I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, and that's how we take care of people. So we show we're a people we're a blessed people, and we have to act blessed, but also too we have to bless others. Yeah. And so nobody goes hungry when we're around. We're also too a big people.
I'm trying to slim down.
Wilton will get to you.
Yeah. So I need to have a side gig with Wilton.
Yes,
okay, good.
Wilton adds 30 pounds every time.
But even then, we when we host gatherings or when we host things, it's all about food because it's almost how people make food for you. They make it because they love you. They make it to nourish you. They make it for healing. And so that's why things taste so good, right? But also too, that's the way that we do, because at one point, food was scarce, right? And at one point people attacked us and they attacked our food source first. And so we're always grateful for what we have. And we're people who lived off of acorns, right? And so now the places where you've been obviously wasn't acorns, it was pizza and Olive Garden and all these other things. But also too, we're people of food.
And it's the energy with the food as well, as you mentioned.
Sharing space, sharing a meal, being able to heal together, being able to love one another. And so we're people of service too. And so that's another thing, is providing those.
I'm grateful.
And that's the first thing I would like to say too, working with Wilton, they're very welcoming. They are they see you for who you are, and they're like, all right, yes, they're a place that I truly enjoy working with and going for and supporting in any kind of form in any way, because again, they're to me a special kind of tribe for me in that way, and it's coming a lot from me since I'm from San Ynez, man, too much over there. But I'm just saying, it's they're always welcoming, they're respectful, and they want to make sure that everybody else is welcomed and loved and taken care of, and that's all I see from them.
And host a class, get some food, get the people through the doors. Let's go.
Yeah,
I can
learn that language.
I can attest to that. So yeah, definitely.
So
well, thank you both again. I know we have some of our young folks who are going to be joining us here at this table. They learned the basics of podcasting, so they're going to be able to do their own little podcast in this space. So I'm super excited for that. So once again, thank you both. I want to thank Vice Chair for being here, as well as Joshua. This was truly an insightful conversation on youth mental health through music. Thanks to all our listeners. This was our first Sound Mind Initiative Native Youth podcast, and I'm your host, Najeary. I'll see you next time.